And there we go. We are online. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. Today is going to be part one of this year's first annual monsoon recording or project that I'm going to be working on. So, before I get into the monsoon discussion today, I got a couple of quick things I want to share with you guys. And I do apologize if it buffers at times. My computer has been acting very slow. I'm still using Windows 10, as you can see. I know I need to get Windows 11 really badly. Anywho, it looks like it's working for us. So here's what we're gonna do. Hopefully people will view this soon. Before we even get started, I just wanted to start off by saying this is gonna be a big year. And I want to first quickly do a little teaser in my forecast for monsoon weather this summer. And I'm looking at two analog years that are popping up. The two analog years that I am seeing are, it seems like it's really delayed, guys, so I do apologize about the very extremely strong delay. Hopefully some of my mods will join and answer any questions that you guys have. Hey there, Carly, how you doing? Glad to see you're here today. I'm just getting started. I'm just waiting for some people to start joining, and then we will get started with the video. And sorry about the very bad latency issue. My computer is just really slow. It's kind of outdated. I'm trying to get a new one. Anywho, so I want to first just start off with this introduction. Monsoon awareness of being very important. Hey there, Ghostly. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. And please forgive the slow latency problem with my stream if it's a little laggy. Guys, so today marks a very special, important thing for monsoon awareness. I have some very deep things I'm going to be discussing, and it's highly important that we discuss a lot of issues that are going on in the weather communities, primarily the meteorological communities, and a lot of this is going to stem from underestimated events during monsoon events. You guys are not going to believe this, but in my title, as you guys can see, I did document. I've seen a lot of undocumented cases during monsoon season. I have a lot of pictures I'm going to show you guys, and I did a lot of research on this, and I found out that monsoon, its circulation, there's a lot of wind shear, usually Cape, and just kind of a few other things that just kind of gives it its ability to circulate. There's a lot of wind shear. So there's a specific name that was really fascinating. And I like to call it the Supercell Valley. Potential model that I'm going to be coming up with, that I'm going to be working on. Now, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to save that for my server. So one of my mods here are going to be able to post the server link in the chat there. Please join and check it out, because tomorrow I will be doing another presentation on a model that I am currently in the works of developing. I've kind of stalled out on that for a second, though, because I've been doing more research on monsoon awareness. But there has been some very impressive things that this model could potentially do, and even its forecast accuracy would be really high. So first of all, there are three analog years, three big ones that are coming up. 2006, 2008, and 2013. During those 3 years, we had some extremely powerful monsoon events that had happened. Particularly, I remember the one in 2006 and 2008. So, I'm going to go through the analogs real quickly these years, including 2011, 2016, and 2021. During these years, we had a classic monsoon setup that had occurred. And during the event, southerly winds on the upper levels of the atmosphere had infiltrated into the southwest. Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. Parts of Texas got affected by this. And in downstream in the U.S., there was a blocking pattern. Bit of a weird situation. The whole pattern got very blocked. So there was not very much flow. And so these analog years have been popping up in a lot of the meteorological communities. So I want to discuss about what happened particularly the biggest years, 2006 and 2008, where the monsoon season had produced a lot of rain, a lot of hail, but we've had some undocumented tornado events that happened a lot during those years. some massive weather events that brought flooding. Yeah, because I don't have the model created yet. That's going to be in the server tomorrow, Carly. So be aware that it's not fully developed or anything. It's just a basic script. And so you guys, the model is not available yet. It's literally just in the very beginning stages. It's an AI type model with a very high accuracy. I'm using several different databases and just kind of a bunch of different things. So using other data sets from other models. Now I'm using a specific algorithm that most people don't really would look at this kind of algorithm. This algorithm is a algorithm I'm going to be using for the model, so when I go to show it to you guys in tomorrow's event in my server that was just posted by Ghostly, you guys may be a little shocked to see what the model looks like. First of all, though, before we actually get into the monsoon awareness, I just want to quickly update you guys on severe weather, the severe weather outbreak that's going to occur this weekend, which I have pulled up here, and then I do want to share another site with you guys that I think you guys would like. So let's look at day one real fast. Yes, I have SPC maps here pulled up. I just want to first discuss about the enhanced risk that's occurring in the lower Red River Valley, and what potentially we are seeing. Are we going to get a whole bunch of severe weather with this? I'm actually assuming that the severe weather chances are... I'm not going to use the word hype, because it's going a little too far, but I think we are going to see some mesoscale activity that's going to form. There is a stalled out boundary that is connected to a low that's way up here, and so this boundary has been creating some Gulf moisture that's been going right into the southern plains. Now, a lot of you guys probably live here and probably had recent rains and that flooded you guys. Well, I do apologize, but you may be getting more in this area where they really needed those. The Midwest, obviously, Florida is a little bit more in need. Where they really don't need it is obviously here. But there's going to be some interesting things, and in the site I want to share with you guys, it's an ag weather website, but they have pretty much the whole thing like tropical tidbits, but it's easier to use, and I'll show you guys here in a second what it does. So anyways, yeah, that's today. So that was literally updated a little bit ago. Now this is tomorrow. So tomorrow, this is when I'm going to be doing this is where we could get potential wind shear activity. Let me get my So we're going to get a jet stream flow like this, while we get more of a southerly wind like this. If you guys are not familiar with wind shear, which you probably all are, it's, of course, where storms rotate counterclockwise and they create, supercells create tornadoes. So we have a kind of a deep trough that is going to be ejecting into the middle part of the country and going off to the north and northeast throughout the weekend into the upcoming week. So tomorrow, if you guys live in this area, so let me just shout out the states real quickly. You live in Nebraska. I don't really see this happening in Nebraska, but it's possible. They've been dealing with so much dry weather. I don't really see this happening, but I'm especially looking at Kansas, Missouri, Iowa a little bit, maybe, Oklahoma, northern parts of Texas, and obviously Arkansas. If you guys live in any of those states, although I'm not underestimating weather patterns in Nebraska, you guys could potentially see severe weather tomorrow. You're just going to be right on the edge of a dry line that's going to set up with this low. And so if you guys do get a severe thunderstorm warning, watch. Tornado warning, watch. You guys need to be careful. And again, as the rule of thumb goes, please do not be outside if there's lightning with the storm, especially if it's frequent. And if there is a tornado heading in your direction, whether it's on radar or you have a radio on you and it says, they're saying that you live in that county or you live in the city that you're under a tornado watch or warning or even a severe thunderstorm warning, you guys need to take shelter immediately, whether it's the lowest point of your home, bathroom, middle point, or basement or shelter, whatever you guys can do. Make sure you keep radio, battery, food, and water with you guys just in case, you get some very bad tornadoes with this. I'm not hyping anything up, and I'm actually kind of going to be underestimating this probably a lot, but I do see potential. I do see some wind shear setup with this. So surface winds are going to be coming out of the south-southwest, while upper level winds are going to be coming more southwesterly. So guys, please be careful. Subtropical jet has been very potent, and it keeps doing something like that, and so that's why we're kind of seeing the setup. And so for some of you who probably who live in these areas for tomorrow, because this is tomorrow, so Sunday, May 18th. For some of you are going to be partaking in my monsoon thing tomorrow. Just be aware of this event, please. Like, don't underestimate this, but also don't overhype it. Just watch the weather and just ensure that you guys are going to be safe, but also don't assume that a tornado is just going to hit you guys. Alright, and then this is obviously day. Now this one's kind of fascinating. Wind shear does become more prominent, and this is where I feel like tomorrow this is where it's going to set up. Enhanced risk all across pretty much Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, parts of Arkansas, and I do feel like this is going to be a more prominent threat. And this is Monday, so Monday, May 19th. It's going to be more prominent. We're going to get a lot of moisture at the surface. I feel like Cape values are going to be higher, and there's going to be a sharp dividing edge of Cape values that are going to set up right there. Okay, so if you guys live in these areas, please be careful and please be weather ready and aware. Thank you. Let me share this site with you guys as a bonus. This is Nutrient Ag Weather Forecast. It is this. I'll leave this link. I'll leave this site in the description. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and copy and I'll paste it in the stream here. You guys want to check out this site? It's a really neat site, and I think you guys would like it. Check it out. It's a very good site. Let me just give you guys a little breakdown of what you can do with it. So if you guys want to look at the weather models, this is where you go. So choose model. It may be a little different on your end. It's also mobile friendly. I know the guy who made this site. He's really good. And here's the models you can choose from. You can also do them through here too. So you have the her model. You have the NAM 3 kilometer. This is the national blended models, I believe. Either that one or that's national blended models. So some of these models have certain uses. If you're not familiar with the ECMW FAIFS, that's the artificial intelligence model. Let me just show you guys what this model does. Let's do North America, and let me just show you guys what this model is. So this model. It's a lower resolution model, so it's going to not display full on, robust thunderstorms or local convective activity, because it's a model that shows. But this is basically what it looks like. Really neat site. You guys should check it out. You also have height anomalies. So if you guys want to view your stuff, you can view it down here in the model's specific weather types. Oh, that's height anomalies. There's that trough I was just telling you guys about. Okay, and then so if you want to be able to get back to the models, you just click the back arrow, go back a few times. Here's the HER model again. This is the simulated radar, and it's really nice. I love it. Forgive me, it takes a minute to load. It depends on your internet and your computer. That's the HER model, and there's that potential severe. So that's why I don't think Nebraska is going to really see anything now, because it doesn't really see. But anyways, I thought I'd just show you guys that. If you want to go back home, there's other stuff you can do. Let's say you want to, let's say you live in a city, and you want to be able to type in a city's location. You can do that, and this is what it'll do for you. You get all of this. It's really cool. It's really neat. So I just typed in St. Louis, Missouri. This is what you got going on. It's the currents. This is the forecast down here. He is working on another potential feature for his site. This, if you guys don't know what this is a really cool tool. I'll discuss more about it in another video. But this is a annual precipitation average. So that black line there, that's in the middle, is the line that is used for, and it's average annual precipitation. And as you can tell, St. Louis, Missouri has went up on above average precipitation this year as of far. However, and that's expected to go up more. Potentially may plateau a little bit. And throughout the summer, I think it's going to, because Monsoon Awareness that I'm going to be talking about here in a moment is going to surface. Okay, so if you're wondering what all this other stuff is, like these is how much major rainfall events they've had. And these are the previous years. If you guys want to check out the site, please do. You can type in your city location, check it out. It's really neat. All right, So I got that off my chest. Let's go ahead and discuss monsoon awareness, and let's get the word out there. If you guys want to check out my server, again, please do, because I will be doing a huge, massive monsoon. Not just a party tomorrow, but I'm going to be discussing about a model that I am in the works of making, and I do have another presentation that I'm going to show about this model. Very high-end intelligent model. I think it's going to be very, very good, and so here we go. Let's go ahead. Monsoon Awareness 2025 plus undocumented reports, and guess what? I have a forecast meter, and it looks very good. Here's what I did see the last year, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is pretty much one of the biggest things that really wanted me to get into this year. During last year, I spotted, just alone in my city, I spotted 4 EF1s. Yeah, it sounds a little weird, but there was a few of them. A lot of them occurred later in the latter half of July and early parts of August. We had a pretty intense monsoon season. It was very localized, but it did hit a lot of areas. And then there was 2 EF2s that were spotted. One was rain wrapped, and that one occurred in June. And then there was another EF2 that occurred in the early half of June. Some big time storms last year, guys, and they were deep, convective, and very, very severe. Am I anticipating a higher chance? Absolutely. I'm going to mention real quickly, guys, we have a trifecta I mentioned in the description of this video. If you're not familiar with what that is, the trifecta effect is 3 cool pools of water, the North Pacific Meridional mode, the PNA, and a pool of water that's usually cold off the eastern coast of Asia, basically China, all the way up to like parts of the Korean country. Is the trifecta fully there? No, it's not. But remember when I talked about the analog years, that's partly the reason to why I'm thinking that those analog years could potentially be validated for this summer's monsoon season. Also, I am seeing a fascinating feature with this year's summer forecast that has been showing up in the CFS V2 and other models for quite some time now. It has not changed for the last 7 or 8 months. It almost looks like a Rex block. Not necessarily a Rex block, but there's this kind of high over low setup right over the 4 corner states that I think you guys would find intriguing. If you guys want to check that out, go to Tropical Tidbits and you can check it out there. It's most prominent in June and July. You're going to mostly see it on surface though anomalies. They're not. It's going to be on the MSLP anomaly or the CFS model, but look at the MSLP surface anomalies and look at the monthly one. Don't do the 3-month one. Especially look at the one in July. It does have kind of a high over low, slightly orientated look. Here's what we're going to do, okay? What is Monsoon Awareness, if you guys are... And is it important? Yeah, of course it is. Monsoon Awareness Week, being in June, it's usually the 2nd to 3rd weeks. It discusses the hazardous weather events that can range from flash flooding, frequent lightning, strong winds and dust storms, hail, and yes, severe thunderstorms. Very common thing. However, do take note, there's one thing that's being underestimated. And so, guys, it's going to get in depth about a specific event that goes undocumented a lot. And it's important to discuss this feature. And it's and how it's always misinterpreted as a specific word, land spout. And I'm going to tell you guys about what the difference is between a land spout and a normal tornado. So, give me a second, I'll be right back. Because I'm grabbing some drink. So anyways, here's how this works. So the myth, or the so-called phrase, tornadoes are not formed in mountainous areas, that's a myth. That's been fact-checked for a long time, and I'm going to expose that myth even more by showing some of these documented pictures that I've seen from other storm chasers, and fascinating enough, some of these tornadoes are in urban areas and can be dangerous enough that they can tear down homes and a lot of things. And in this slide, I'm going to also talk about why the monsoon should have its own severe weather valley called Supercell Valley or Alley, because we also tend to get a lot of wind shear in these storms, which produces a unique circulation pattern that causes a lot of supercell structure like thunderstorms, which I'll show a series of pictures after that. Here we go. Do tornadoes occur during monsoon season, and do they get unreported or undocumented all the time? It is sadly a fact. Due to there not being enough radar coverage, which is the biggest thing that difficulty and challenge the desert Southwest faces, is not having enough weather data, or not enough data that backs up the phenomena. It is always getting underestimated how deadly these tornadoes can be and the mere impacts they pose on consistent threats every day. We take last year, for instance, and I mentioned this in the first part of this video. I spotted four EF1s around my area, in my neighborhood, in the third week of June, and 3 others around late July, early August. Though none of these tornadoes have caused any deaths, thankfully, they were very major and posed concerning threats for the surrounding urban areas. See, I live in the city of Albuquerque, so yeah, it's going to be a concern. Radar systems did not detect these because of the mountainous terrain, the radar coverage being very sparse in the area. So, the east side of the mountains, which is east of where I live, a lot of these storms do spin up, due to wind shear and mountain updrafting and kind of other stuff, but there's no radar systems on the other side of the mountain. So when a storm passes through a very strong cell, it does not pick up on radar. It just picks up as a light rain, light to moderate rain. Due to not enough radar coverage, there is not enough data in historical weather phenomena events describing the monsoon's potential and its circulation. So because there's not enough radar systems, warning issues, no tornado warnings really get issued, even if they are just a funnel that touches down briefly, because these tornadoes can touch down unexpectedly. So it's very concerning, and it's very threatening, because they can kind of come out of nowhere. So I'm going to talk about the second myth, landspouts being misinterpreted as tornadoes, and I'm going to show an example of 2 different pictures that show this. So please keep that in the back of your mind as we get to that point, because that's what makes these tornadoes deadly. Most people say, oh, it's just a landspout, it's just a large dust devil underneath the thunder. No. If there is a funnel connected to the cloud, it's a tornado, and it's going to be more than a dust devil. Okay, so here's what I did talk about. The tornado touchdowns are different from the way different and unpredictable than the traditional tornado alley events. So we're talking about like where the severe weather event that's going to be happening this week. These are way different. Well, let's discuss this a little bit more in depth about the monsoon's circulation and how it influences tornado activity. Another cause for life-threatening events is how these tornadoes touch down. Though they are often misinterpreted as landspouts, but these touchdowns start on the ground, people often misuse the word tornado as landspout, quote-unquote, because of these tornadoes at first sight appear at the surface. Here's the kicker, though. Once a spin-up occurs at the surface, just as a dust devil behaves the same, hence why they call them landspouts all the time and underestimate their power, the base of the strong storm begins to also start to rotate, creating a funnel-like appearance, and even start spinning. Due to the warm temperatures, due to the amount of moisture that usually comes with the flow and its circulating pattern and the amount of turbulence it creates and wind shear, this oftentimes gets misinterpreted as landspouts or gets underestimated, causing underestimation of these tornadoes. Once the funnel forms and the dust swirl at the surface forms, this is what they think, quote unquote, is a landspout, but really it's a tornado, making its quick and unusual appearance or touchdown dangerous. Yeah, more dangerous than like a tornado that has a path and that it knows where it's going. Here's what you guys probably could do, though, if some of you are going to be planning on visiting the Four Corners this summer. Observing the behavior of these tornadoes is highly important for radar coverage, because the sheer convection of these storms is uniquely different from those of classic structure of severe storms during severe weather season. Do you guys see the comparable? I just said shear convection. Yes, that is shear convection because the monsoon does circulate and it has a pulsating like effect. It's extreme erratic bursts of thunderstorm activity throughout the day. The storms get very strong and get a lot of spin-ups. And due to the monsoon's unique circulation, the topography of the terrain, everything allows these storms to rotate to levels that can produce tornadoes that can easily hit EF3, EF4. I did not mention this in the slides, but I will be mentioning this in tomorrow's voice chat and the meeting tomorrow on my server. Again, keep an eye off. Go ahead and join that server because there was an EF5 tornado, a 225 mile an hour wind set, went undocumented for so long that kind of made me infuriated because SPC even had an outlook on this event. 2016 was a year that I no longer I told you about. Extreme monsoon season we had. Earlier that year, we did have a very strong onset to monsoon season weather. It was very primed because we dealt with a lot of warm weather in February. We're dealing with 70s and occasional 80s. The SPC had the day that they literally posted this after the fact that this tornado hit the west side of my city and went right through the Rio Grande. After the fact that they posted it was on March 1st, 2016, and it was posted about 1 a.m. This tornado did occur right around 3 o'clock in the morning. The SPC posted this at 1 a.m. I'm not sure what time zone they were in, but it was definitely not ours because luckily nobody was injured, but there was a lot of destruction to road surfaces. Vehicles were flipped in the air, and I kid you not, it was one of the most historic events that happened in weather history for New Mexico. And there was actually a linked event that happened later, a few days later, that happened in Georgia that was connected to this monsoon, robust monsoon outbreak. So let me show you some pictures and some prime examples of these cases. Okay, Eagle Nest, New Mexico. This one was taken 2013. Again, another analog year. So here's what it describes at the top of the screen here. This was a 130 mile spin up tornado in Eagle Nest. Here's what I describe. If you take a close look, you can make out that the touchdown does start at the surface. But if you look at the base of the storm, you can see a tube-like funnel feature connecting between the cloud and the ground. Look closely here. Do you guys see that? This is a pretty bad tornado. I'm not even sure that this was even an EF2. I think this may have been stronger due to the bush at the bottom. And this, as you guys can see, mountainous terrains, yes, valleys, and kind of a bit of a mid-based thunderstorm. You can see some kind of green in the background, meaning that the storm did have some hail with it. But if you do look, some scud cloud development there. You do have a bit of a wall cloud feature there, kind of wrapped around it. And then you can make out some deeper clouds while you just have some regular based with the rain shaft and hail shaft in the background. And impressive spin up, guys. I mean, you can really see, if you look closely inside though, you can almost make out this counterclockwise rotation. You guys see what I'm talking about? It is spinning up like this, while at the surface it did start, and it did have a connection. That's the difference between a land spout and a tornado. I'll show you, sorry about that, I'll show you in the next, and probably I think it's in the next slide or two, about reason why a land spout is not considered a tornado, and why they're misconceptualized a lot, or misunderstood. Also take note, this was in a fairly urbanist area, a lot of houses there that were under threat. Thankfully, this tornado did drift off that way. When I'm pointing, it went off towards the mountains, and then it did turn that way briefly up the mountains, and then it did fall apart a little bit, regained some strength, but it lost its ability to. So it didn't pose any threat towards any homes, but it was enough to scare the crap out of people. Excuse my language. Okay, so here is a very impressive potential EF4 funnel developing in exactly the four corners, as you guys can see. That is, I believe that's near Farmington. Now this is an older picture, and so this it just goes to show, guys, how outdated this is. You can see the wind is just ripping through this grass, this desert grass. You can see one of the infamous nearby mountainous ranges near this Farmington. Very nasty, low level thunderstorm with a very badly spin up. Due to this photo being, it was taken in 1999, I believe, 1998. It was in the 90s, and it just kind of goes to show how outdated some of these photos and how unnoticed they. It's like cold cases, you know, they go unnoticed. And as you can see, there's a lot of urbanism in that area. So there's a lot of people who live there, and where those trees are at, and so a lot of desert deciduous trees, and you can just clearly see how much force this thing has. The wind around it is just ripping, and this thing's not even close to this spot. At least you can't really tell. If you guys notice, look how deep and low and moist these clouds are though in the background. You look at the base of this cloud, it's very low. Literally, probably easily 300 or 400 feet off the ground. So this picture was definitely underestimated due to there not being enough data or coverage in this area. There's no radar, actually there is no radar systems in Farmington, New Mexico, so when you get a storm that does this, it goes unnoticed. And it's, yeah, Farmington's a fairly big city, so it can be very dangerous. Another example, now this is again another analog here. Here's the thing, this is a landspout. This is a landspout. Why? Because look at the base of the cloud. No tiny little skinny funnel. There's no funnel or little spin up coming from the cloud. So this is how landspouts look compared to what a tornado, like an eagle nest, looks like. Tornado, and then back to the other picture, landspout. There's a huge difference in how these look, and that next one's fascinating. I find that next one very fascinating. See, no landspouts. There's no connection between the cloud and the ground, hence it can just spin up. That's just created by an outflow boundary, if you can see right here. So this was in 2013 in July. I do remember that storm. That was an intense one. Alright. This is a mid-level to high base thunderstorms. This is an example of why. So this was taken in this was taken right along the border of New Mexico and Arizona, and right around the Navajo Nation. This is where I discuss why these storms can produce them. Very impressive EF2. And I'm not sure what the date this one was taken, but given by the location, it was taken somewhere in that area. Again, not a very deep-based thunderstorm. As you can tell by the range shaft, it's not very deep. Probably mid-level base. But it just kind of goes to show how much these storms can rotate even if they're not that low to the ground, giving you the idea that they can still rotate because of the terrain, the topography, and the monsoon's overall circulation, which does something like that. So let me just draw a little quick diagram. You have let's just draw the four corners, basic, you know. Let's just pretend it's the four corners. So Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, Colorado. I'm just gonna label it. Here's what the monsoon can do, and this is why it's very important. So I'm just drawing a very basic scale, a little fast for you guys. I know this doesn't look this looks crappy. I know. Monsoon does something like this on average. You have a thermal low here doing this, and then you have a high that can sit up here. At the surface, you get winds that go like this. And so remember I was talking about a potential Rex block. Let me just show you guys what I meant by a Rex block here. Let me label the low this color, and let me label the high this color. Why this kind of can act as like a Rex block, because it can sit for a while. What you get is flow that goes around the ridge like this. Flow goes around the ridge like this, and downstream you tend to get bunched up jet stream patterns that can do something like that. While during a monsoon circulation, you also have a flow going like this, creating this rect-like bloxy high over low pattern that can sometimes occur during a classic monsoon setup. So when the setup occurs, you get this, let me draw it real fast, high over low type pattern. These are very common and very known in subtropical regions, and they can occur quite often. The high is generally further north, while the low sits further to the south and create multiple weeks, sometimes months, intense rain, stormy weather. And is this year's going to set up like that? Definitely is looking likely. As I said at the beginning of this video, the stream, the CFS has been picking up on this for 8 months now, if not longer. It's been keeping this pattern, and it's been staying like that. Alright, here's a few more examples. Alright, so this one was El Paso. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. It appears to be sort of landspoutish. Now, I can't really tell in this particular photo. The base of the storm looks a little disoriented. And this was impressive. Now, this was taken out in the east of the Sandy Mountains and Monsoon Mountains. This is where it kind of makes me laugh, because this is where these storms get underestimated a lot. This is basically the Moriarty in Highlands Valley. And as you could tell, very impressive spin up. Yep, it is connected. You got a bit of a wall cloud feature there. Very impressive at the surface. This is I-40, kind of in a diagonal angle there. It heads through that area. So we're just east of Edgewood, overpass there. Very impressive. This was taken in the early 2000s. I particularly remember this event. I remember I was standing outside one day and I did see a funnel in a storm. And I don't remember touching down, but I do remember there was a really impressive funnel. And I remember even birds flying through. It was one of the weirdest and creepiest things. This one was actually taken in Arizona, Tucson. And hence, this is where we're going to start discussing about circulation and supercell activity. Look at all of this green. First of all, note the rain shaft. Very blinding. You can't see through it. I know it's low quality, and I do apologize. There is the brief, smaller tornado, probably just in the F0 at most. Look at this amount of layering in the clouds, though. You got so much layering while it's spun up, but take note of this feature here. Also down here. Do you guys see that turquoise green kind of ocean blue that you can probably saw in some other pictures? What you got going on is a deep, very, very deep desert southwest thunderstorm that produced so much. It thrived off of warm temperatures, moist environments, and the topography, giving it this very robust multiple cloud levels and very deep. I don't know, I'm going to go expressions with that deep shelf cloud you guys can see there. Well, this kind of leads me to the next topic of this discussion, supercell structure activity that does occur. As you saw in the third picture of that last slide, you guys made out of green and blue color, which you saw in the rain shaft, which now leads me to a discussion on supercell and severity indexes that are more often seen than not during monsoon season. This is very important, and I don't take this with a grain of salt. Why? Because of its underestimation. So let's go ahead and let's get into this. Supercell activity is quite more potent than the original context of monsoon season. Yes. Remember how I described the circulation? Well, let's go ahead and get in depth of why this is. The overlayering atmospheric conditions and wind shear movement during monsoon season makes it even more of an eyesight dream for your average storm chaser. Why is this? Due to the monsoon circulation pattern, as I described in that little dialogue, that little basic picture I showed you, I gave you guys, it's consistent pulsating daily convection activity. The wind shear profile, as well as with CAPE, the measurement of storms and which is the measurement of storms that usually thrive off of heat and moisture that use, creates a majestic and multifaceted event of supercells or storms that can span for hundreds of miles. It's like looking at like supercell heaven, basically. So if you guys want to look and get beautiful pictures of supercell activity this year, try visiting the Four Corners states. You may get some very fascinating pictures, which will be, So, no pun intended, by the way. If you factor in terrain of the desert's majestic landscape as well, this allows the illusion of what appears to be a labyrinth of cumulonimbus clouds with supercell-like structures. These are my neighbor's dogs. And so this is very beautiful, guys. You don't get one, but you can get multiple of these storms. Like, you can get literally, like I said, hundreds of miles of these things. Just beautiful, endless, circulated Enville overshooting top thunderstorms that just can look absolutely dreamy for a storm chaser. With this being more frequent than Tornado Alley's severe weather event, due to Tornado Alley not creating a daily convection, circulating moisture event with constant storm temperatures, supercell activity can be a lot more frequent. But this can also lead to ultimate deadly consequences, as these storms do usually, again, form. Oftentimes they go unnoticed due to there not being enough data to provide and not enough weather stations with radars to overlook the pattern's majestic supercell unique scenery. So yeah, there are a lot of supercells that can occur during monsoon season. You don't necessarily need a southerly wind. You can have a northerly wind with an easterly wind at the surface with a lower atmospheric pressure that can get these storms to produce as well. It's all going to come down to the surface wind being more easterly. Well, even if the upper level wind is southerly, northerly, westerly, it doesn't have to be straight out of the west. So if it's straight out of the west, then you're getting too much forcing, which can cause the storms to actually collapse or have not any energy at all. I don't think that's going to happen this summer. Here is some very impressive photos. And yeah, this one does have a bit of a small funnel to it, as you can see. As you probably noticed, these are all taken in some sort of desert location. Probably can see here. So this is a mirage of images. Again, desert location. Obviously can't see the desert location there, but judging by those poles, it's somewhere in the desert. Look at these nice. Some of these are really impressive. Like that one and that one are just downright impressive, guys. You got the forcing influx of the wind, kind of on the Enville part. You got the nice structure of the base of your classic supercell, and you got this deep rain. And these storms don't move like they do in the Great Plains or the Midwest. These, or Tornado Alley in general, these kind of are stationary, so they just spin up, they just dump hail and rain for hours. Sometimes can last, hence the flash flooding for hours. This one's a little less impressive, but I got this one because look at that lightning bolt. Very impressive to see that lightning strike. I mean, just, that thing was really close. I'm pretty sure that guy got jump scared from it. And then, again, look at that. Just look at that, guys. I mean, very majestic. Got this, this is why it's important to bring monsoon discussions out there. That rain shaft is just so blinding and heavy. It's like you can't see. This one's impressive too. The one next to it, one on your left. This one's very fascinating. I find this one quite interesting because this is more common with some of these storms. This is like literally, we're literally right underneath the mothership here, right before the rain shaft hits. You can probably judge by some of these rain shafts that, notice how they're not liney like rain, but they're very sheet-like. There is definitely frozen precipitation in these, and there's hail. Notice how some of them have green or blue. Like this one's really showing out. And I just can't get over this one, though. This one really catches my attention because the base of the cloud is brown, while you got a rain shaft that's piercing white, which definitely means there's hail in there. And you can almost see, if you look way out here, you can see a very strong outflow, but it just seems to regenerate. Hence why these storms can last for a few hours, and they just continue to develop over mountainous areas. If you have not noticed, again, biomes, all desert. You know what I mean? So, can't really see, but I know those poles are a common type of pole that they have in the desert. So, Yeah, it's impressive. Going down, it is stunning, isn't it? What a beautiful peak preview of the monsoon circulation pattern. In the next slide, I will show you some more majestic photos of cumulonimbus structures during the monsoon at its finest. Now, some of these photos have the flow. What are those words I'm thinking of? Those splashes in them. So please forgive the splashes. Apparently, a lot of photos nowadays they don't require, without those splashes. So I do apologize. All right, so look at that. Again, all deserts. See, at least some sort of desert plain or desert land. But look at these impressive structures. What's really fascinating is if you look, they all have some sort of unique design. If you look closely, you can see the scud cloud there on that one. But look at the unique design. Like this one is a double cumulonimbus anvil. This one here has got an overshooting top. There's the anvil, and there's the overshooting top. And this one's impressive. You can see the rain shaft barely. Probably more just heavy rain, but it's still impressive to see. Circular anvil. I mean, if you guys notice these circular, almost perfect circular anvils, hence why they're so circular is because the circulation of the monsoon's flow. Because the monsoon does something like this, and then you got that high over low pattern. Yeah, of course these storms are going to create their own little mesoscale, features. Some of them which can get mesoscale, like this one, for instance. You got like 3 anvils there. It's impressive. This one really has a unique look too. Again, look at the rain shaft. If you have not noticed, you can make out that more sheet-like feature, giving it probably some frozen precip along with this one. There's one unique thing about these supercells, or supercell-like structures, or mesoscale convective systems. They're all tall, yes. They're deep, and they're all circular anvil. 2 of them which do have overshooting tops, and they all have deep convection underneath, ranging from deep clouds to very heavy rain and hail. And so it's impressive to see this. And so this is not uncommon because, again, you got something doing that. High over, low. So that pattern, when you get this pattern, what the high does is it produces... Let me just show you guys something real fast. Let me just show you guys another diagram here. Let me just do this. So let me just say this real fast. So one thing that's common in these pictures are, as you can see, they are all taken in desert landscape settings. They all had supercell-like structures, or they're mesoscale convective systems. Some of them have had overshooting tops. Understanding these values of the monsoon season not only means you could be missing out on a beautiful, majestic, severe weather event, but also can lead to consequences, whether negative or positive, of undocumented events, which can also lead to people getting injured or even killed in undocumented cases. Let me just draw this diagram. A lot of the times, the high pressure system, which is sometimes will sit over Colorado, will force a wind that does that at the surface. Now, high pressure system is sinking, so sinking air comes in, right? With a flow generally like this. When you got a low just sitting to its south or southwest doing this, and you got rising air, throughout the day you get this rapid, kind of almost subtly upper level wind, while the high pressure system does its easterly winds at night. And this can be important depending on how much moisture preseason comes. So due to the amount of moisture Texas has been getting, I do think the setup is going to be very valid. I think that ocean temperatures are kind of saying the name, and the CFS has been picking up on it for a long time. So you get a very strong, let me get my color graph. You get this very strong general, flow that goes like that. That is a classic monsoon setup. Now, a lot of you guys are like, wait, hold on. Some years, the monsoon goes this way, or this way. Well, yeah, it does. It's more of a common setup. So Sometimes it's all depending on that ridge. If that ridge is sitting over the four corners, here are the four corners, you're going to get a flow that's going to do that. If that ridge is sitting down in Arizona, you're going to get more of a flow that can be a little bit more drier, and that tends to do something like this. So New Mexico would be over here, Colorado, Utah, Arizona. Sorry about the kind of crappy drawings. While sometimes if the ridge is in Arizona, the thermal low will be very weak and will be overlapped over that ridge, kind of causing the ridge to be more dominant. And sometimes the ridge can even create this rotating effect that sometimes will appear like a cyclone, but it'll do something like that. This flow is not ideal for New Mexico or Colorado, but it can favor Arizona and Utah and parts of California. But if you want a more broader monsoon pattern, it's best to, let me redraw the four corners again. It's best to have the ridge sat over in southern Colorado, so Colorado being up there, and the thermal low somewhere in southern Arizona, and it's best to have the flow doing something like, I'll draw it in green, like that surface, while the ridge is acting as the centrifugal wind force for these rotating storms or mesoscale convective systems, when you generally get a flow, that upper level height flow that generally flows like, that goes like this. Sorry about that, guys. So the ridge, sometimes the flow can make it into the ridge, but it starts to spread out and starts to stagnate. Downstream, sometimes this tends to happen. Downstream, the flow gets bunched up, blocked. Sometimes it doesn't, that's why it is kind of a bit of a Rex block-like feature. So, my conclusion though, well, let's go to it. The underestimating events taken during monsoon season are no joke when it comes to the weather. This would save hundreds of millions of lives of tourists who visit the beautiful desert views, and this would need to be more assertive and aware for the monsoon season and the severity of its impacts of the world and its visitors. And discussing the topic of having more focus on a major monsoon outbreak on major weather networks like the Weather Channel, for instance, to ensure safety of the residents and tourists who are visiting the beautiful desert scenery. If there is a mid-Atlantic threat on that same day, here's where the conclusion would work, guys. Mid-Atlantic's on the same day, or a severe hurricane weather threat on the same day an extreme monsoon outbreak occurs, here's what they could do. Before they even start their stream, or they start doing their weather, their like Weather Center Live, for instance, discussing and examining and negotiating a balanced streaming. For instance, if the Mid-Atlantic or the East Coast is having a severe weather outbreak, or something's happening in the Midwest due to downstream flow, or a hurricane or a tropical storm is starting to develop, but does get close enough to land, and you got monsoon outbreak. A good way to balance this is doing 20 to 30 minutes on both events. Or they can do 3 events. Weather Center Live, especially when they do special coverage, they can do it up to about 7 hours. So you can cover the monsoon, 20 minutes, whether it's mid-Atlantic, hurricane threat, or both at the same time. Cover that for 10 and 10, or 15 and 15 covering it for 30. And then doing monsoon awareness again, kind of, again, getting an idea here on maybe 15 minutes. And then making a longer, more complex discussion, 30 minutes of just a hurricane that's entering land. Now, would you have to update? Yeah, of course. So 30 minutes is kind of long. But you can have a severe monsoon outbreak and a hurricane entering the Gulf Coast at the same time. While one is only getting a lot of attention, usually the hurricane outbreak, and the other one doesn't. So then it kind of ultimately leads to less positive outcome and a more problematic understanding in the Weather communities, especially weather networks like Weather Channel or Weather Nation. So what you got to do is you got to take in consideration that you have the Southwest, you have the Northwest, and you have, the country is divided into different sections. So Southwest, West Coast, Great Plains, both Southern and Northern, the Corn Belt or the Midwest, Southeast, or the Delta, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast. And if you're talking about weather patterns that can potentially be a threat to the outside of the U.S., like hurricanes, for instance, discussing what you can do to be able to balance the times between both events will not only give a more positive outcome to these weather networks, but they will get way much more better critique versus bad critique, if you know what I mean. That's my conclusion. Alright, guys. Let me show you the monsoon meter. I think you guys are going to be impressed by this. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to say why this is. And it's really high. Here it is. 93% chance of a monsoon storm, monsoon setup this. Now again, this is only a chance. Bear in mind, I am going to be sharing this on my server. So please, if you have not joined the server yet, please do. I talk about other weather stuff in there too. It's a general weather server. But we talk about weather stuff. We talk about all kinds of fun things. We have pretty much normal topics in there. We talk about food. We talk about pets, animals. Well, we have a lot. We have pretty much a whole thing for a weather server. So it's not just weather. We have our own SPC in there. It's kind of under maintenance right now. We have level up bonuses where every time you active and you chat with people, you level up. You get as you get to higher levels, you get some more benefits over time. I have to look at it again. But overall, please check out the server. Very nice weather community. Very secure. If you're worried about drama or anything like that, don't worry. We always ensure that I have two other owners of the server. I'm the one who actually owns it, but we have two other owners, a bunch of staff that watch over the server, and they always ensure that the server is safe. If somebody goes in there and starts something, we give them a warning. If they continue to do something, we tend to get them kicked out because they do have a habit of going in there and trolling really bad. Some nasty things occur, but we always ensure the safety of our members. It's also 13 and younger too. So please, if you guys want to check out that server, please do. Because tomorrow I will be discussing. Again, I'll have a whole lobby discussion that you guys should be there and you guys should check it out. We'll be in lobby 1, and after the discussion, we're going to be doing some fun and games. You guys can chit chat. We can do video games, whatever. It can be pretty much any activity of your choice. It could be a solo activity. It could be with your other friends that join. It doesn't have to be specifically confined to one thing. So please join us in that tomorrow. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have very major discussions on some big, huge events that maybe we can get this really out there this summer because of the setup I am seeing, and it just keeps kind of coming to mind those analog years: 2006, 2008, 2013, 2011, 2013, 2016, 2021. So please, if you guys have not joined that server yet, please do. This stream will be on the on my videos, so if you guys want to look through the stream again, please do. Again, I did discuss at the beginning of the stream about severe weather hazards that are occurring in the Great Plains right now during this time while I'm doing this. So if you guys still happen to be in those zones I mentioned earlier ago, please look back at that. Just be safe and ensure that if you're going to be storm chasing on that, or storm chasing tomorrow, and you want to watch or you want to be a part of my monsoon thing at the same time, just be careful. That's all I ask. Last but not least, the good news for future monsoon events. Due to long-term events such as warmer temperatures, is this based off of the global warming? I'm not going to use the word global warming. That's overusing terminology for a weather pattern, climatologically, but through global weather patterns that have been a major topic for the last few years, several years, really last decade and a half, One thing is certain, with warmer temperatures averaging around 1 to really right around 1 degrees Fahrenheit every 5 years, excuse me, more water content will become more abundant due to oceans getting warmer and more water. So the more water, the Earth's going to cycle more. The more water that does occur, though, the Earth's going to hit another cycling colder period down the long run. So it's usually how the Earth's behavior works. The axis is going to tilt. I'm no expert in space weather, but I do know a solar minimum is possibly looking likely soon, in the coming decade or two. So due to this, we could be hitting another cooler period. I don't think it'll be a grand solar minimum. Some people are overhyping, saying it will be, and we're in an ice age. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyways. But there's another reason why I want to discuss monsoon importance, and here's why it's more important. With solar minimums after a solar maximum, you get more water-filled atmosphere, bringing much-needed rains and winters to the desert southwest, as its agricultural heritage is a major important for U.S. food industry. So a lot of the agriculture that's produced in the Sun Belt, New Mexico, Arizona, parts of Texas, is common in the U.S. You got chilies. Everybody loves spicy food. So it's important that we do get water in these states in the summers, and in the winters that we get the more snow, so that way the crops can thrive off of soil moisture. Soil moisture. So we got chilies, again, popular spice, and then we grow another crop that actually helps with cattle. Particularly cows are common in New Mexico alone, and Arizona. Cows are very important because sounds weird. Hamburgers, everybody loves them in the United States. So we grow what they call alfalfa, and a lot of cows are very prone to eating alfalfa. So if you don't know what alfalfa is, look it up. I have the word spelled right there. It's a specific grain, not really grain, but it's a specific grass and large grass that cows do eat, or hay that they eat. And it makes their meat produce developing stuff that they use for the cows more easier to make, making hamburger industries thrive way more. So with monsoon being important, it's important also to discuss the importance of the water it does have. We also grow pecans in the Sun Belt, and then we do grow another. We have a corn belt, but it's not like the classic. It's called desert corn. But people describe desert corn tasting like the actual popcorn that we get from the movies, compared to like the corn that we get in the corn belt. So it's important to know that a lot of our agriculture in the Sun Belt, New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona, it's important that we do get the water, because a lot of the food that we do cultivate in these three states in the Sun Belt are very iconic to the United States and North America alone. So it's not like, if we downplay the monsoon, it's not like saying, oh, that's not going to happen, and then it does, and then you get the idea, you know. So it's important that rains come to the desert southwest. It's important that the Sun Belt gets the water. It's important Rio Grande River, the Colorado River Basin, and then you got the Red River Reservoir, that those are important for the Sun Belt. And without those rivers, also you got the Pecos River. It's another river that runs through New Mexico. Without those rivers' water, supply, these important, iconic, foods that are constantly in our stores every day are gonna pretty much go up in prices, and then you probably even disappear, and then we're gonna have to rely on something else. A lot of the U.S. life has lived off of these foods for so long. Genetically, us people, consider it something that we don't want to just, puff away. You know what I mean? But it also is important. It also serves importance of its severe impacts and its traits on the weather system. So it's important to discuss monsoon awareness, and it's important that it's out there, and it discusses many things, ranging from agriculture, but to its severe hazards that does go unnoticed pretty much every year. So is monsoon going to become more and more robust in the coming years? I do think that it is. I think that the more abundant moisture entering atmospheric conditions are going to produce more thunderstorm-like activity. The topography of the desert Southwest compared to, like, let's say Africa's Saharan desert is going to be able to circulate more moisture. So, do I believe monsoon season in the coming decade or two is going to become more prominent? I do believe that it will. I do believe it's going to produce more rain. And are the winters going to become? Can't really say the winters right now. I do believe monsoon seasons are going to get stronger, which would be good news for soil moisture, and that's extremely important for the topography, but also for the agriculture in the Sun Belt region. So that is all I have for you guys today. Let's see if anybody has said anything. Let's see if there's any comments. If there is not, okay. So looks like Carly left. So Carly looks like she had left. It's like the stream is very far behind. I do apologize. Weird. I'm not sure why that is. That is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. Anywho. Please, if you guys loved this video, if you loved this content, you don't necessarily have to subscribe to the channel. I'm still working on creating improved weather content for the U.S. because I'm not just doing Monsoon Awareness. I am doing stuff outside of that. Please just note that I have a big thing for the monsoon because I grew up in the state of New Mexico, and I just noticed it's always being underestimated. If you guys like this content, though, please have a good day, and please like the video and share it with family and friends. Don't forget tomorrow. I highly urge you guys to join the server. Don't worry. You click on the link that one of my mods have provided there below. It's also in the description. Please join that server because we're going to have important discussions tomorrow in my voice chat. And I need to have a lot of people there so I can get this out there. You guys had a great day. I'm glad to hear that. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And please be weather safe in the regions that I shouted out at the beginning of the video as it just keeps showing here. And we will get back to you tomorrow in my server. You guys have a wonderful day.